What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. I'm sitting down with Muhsin Corbbrey. What is up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How is it going, man? It's been way too long, man. We've been trying to do this for a second. I'm glad to be back on here, man. We're going to talk about some amazing content today.
Well, I'm really glad to have you, man, because I send your first episode to just about everyone. And guys, if you haven't listened to this yet, go check it out. It's one of our earlier episodes. It's all about the science behind Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the martial arts. And Muhsin really broke it down like just all the ways that Jiu-Jitsu actually impacts your brain. And guys, if you don't remember Muhsin here, are you a fourth year student?
So fourth year. Right now I'm taking a small research break, and I'm working on a couple of other little just certifications and things that I want for other businesses that I'm doing. We're working on an integrative healthcare center now that's going to be pretty amazing. So just a couple of things I'm getting just for that. Then it's right back to finishing up this research project it's rough, but it's amazing work. I'm enjoying it.
I love it, man. And I'm stoked to dive into this. And so we were talking a little bit over Facebook about all the latest research that you've been doing about, physiology and neuroscience, and just all the ways that our body is impacted by our environment and by the things that we do. And really what it sounds like is that, this is really what I wanted to talk to you about, is that these things are just as good, if not better, than the prescription drugs that Big Pharma's been pushing on us and stuff like that.
No, look, I'm going to go out on a limb right here and maybe make a couple people mad, but these things are way better, much better for you, and they treat your symptoms much better than SSRIs or any other antidepressant. There are a slew of side effects that come with any antidepressant. On top of that, there's a dependency that you're going to get when you take that antidepressant. We know that physical exercise, movement stimulates these neurotransmitters better than these drugs, and they don't produce any homeostasis issues. So you're not going to be dependent on that drug to feel good. You have a natural way. Exercise is a natural way of stimulating these neurotransmitters, your serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, and feeling, just getting that mood boost without any negative damage, any damage to those receptors. Our body is in a constant state of fighting for balance, for homeostasis. These neurotransmitters are the exact same. So when I give an outside substance, or take an outside substance to get those neurotransmitters firing, they take over the neurotransmitter. And so now I'm not going to have as much available serotonin or as much available dopamine, depending on what you're taking. And when you stop taking that drug, you're now going to have a deficit. You're going to feel like you're ready to jump off a cliff, because these things have affected the way your body works, the way your body performs. Exercise just complements it. It just keeps you moving. It stimulates these things. On top of that, we know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I sent you some of these studies, that insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction is directly connected. We have found a causative relationship between metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance, stemming from lifestyle choices, obesity, things like that, and depression and anxiety symptoms, and many other neurological symptoms as well. But we'll talk about depression and anxiety right now. We've got some very good research in humanized lab rats that has been replicated in humans that shows if you make a humanized lab rat insulin resistant, it will immediately show symptoms of depression and anxiety, right? So we know that insulin resistance alone, which about 93% of Americans are probably on the spectrum, somewhere close. We know that 93% of Americans right now have at least one positive biomarker for metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is your march towards diabetes or insulin resistance, right? So when these things, when your body is not working the way it's supposed to, when your body is not breaking down energy the way it's supposed to, it affects your neurotransmitter function and causes depression. So what can we do about that? Start moving around a little bit, get our bodies in better shape. Join a gym, jump into a jiu-jitsu class, jump into a kickboxing class. But these are things that we need to be doing the rest of our life. If like for all of my clients, I would tell them the number one thing we got to focus on for longevity, health, and wellness is exercise. Exercise, bar none, 100% the most important medicine if we want to live longer. Now, how can we do that? Can we do it by just getting a trainer and working out? Yeah, we can definitely do that. We need to have some resistance training, and we need to have a little bit of cardiovascular training as well. So, there are tons of things that we can do to get all of that in. Jiu-jitsu is a great choice. You're working on your cardio. You're working on explosive cardio. You're working on that moderate heart rate cardio. You're working on just the stress involved with wrestling around with another human being. These stresses are good stresses, that help, improve us at a biological level. So, jiu-jitsu is a great way. Kickboxing, anything that you can do consistently and will do consistently, you should be doing.
Love it, man. And so someone might be hearing this and they might be thinking, okay, but what about if I'm at like the depths of depression? Someone who maybe is feeling like they are, they're just so, I don't know, they're in such a bad spot that they feel like they need medication or something like that.
Listen,
like
we get there.
Yeah.
We get there. But understand, if you're in that spot, and look, I'm never going to tell anybody to do anything that could potentially risk their life. If they're suicidal, they need to go get help, right? They need to go put themselves, in a place where they can be safe and somebody can take care of them. A lot of times when you turn yourself into, because you're worried about yourself, you're going to be medicated, right? I'm not a fan of this long-term medication use. I don't think the medication ever addresses the problem, the reason why we're depressed, why we're experiencing these issues. What is it, right? And, when you talk about somebody just being so depressed they can't really get up and do anything, they're not motivated, we shouldn't depend on motivation to help us do the things that we need to do. I tell people this all the time. There are times where we're going to be motivated and times that we don't want to get out of bed. Discipline is what helps us continue when motivation wanes, right? There are days I will be at the gym by myself at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning because I didn't get my workout in that day. And I refuse to end my day until I get it. I'm not motivated. I don't want to be there. I want to go home. I want to eat some bad food and just sit on the couch and watch Netflix. But discipline is making me stay in the gym, making me get that workout done because I have to. I generated a pattern. That pattern can't be broken. I just have to do it, right? So I tell people all the time, and we know this, like if you follow like evolutionary psychology at all, or you can understand there are a lot of things like aiming at us, causing our depressive symptoms. One is our overwhelming bad health. That's one. But two is, especially in males, is our lack of purpose, right? Our ability to be happy is directly connected to our sense of purpose. So if we don't have a reason to get up every day, it's going to be very hard to be happy. These neurotransmitters were designed for us to procreate, for us to keep moving, right? So we have serotonin that is like being content, gratefulness. Some people say happiness or keeping us happy. It's not really that. It's more being grateful for what we have, being able to understand that we're moving in the right direction. Dopamine is going to be more for motivation, right? Dopamine is our motivation neurotransmitter. So when dopamine wanes, our motivation wanes. We don't want to get up. We don't want to do anything. That's what we're finding. So you'll see in the study that I sent you, the neurotransmitter dysfunction was not in the serotonin receptor. It was in the dopamine receptor. And after that dopamine receptor, now all of these receptors work together, but once that dopamine receptor was not functioning properly, the mouse showed symptoms of depression, right? So we know that our depression is very much attached to our motivation. Now, something you have to think about with men right now. Male testosterone is at an all-time low. Right? Our ancestors' testosterone was probably like 1,500. Our grandparents like 900 to 1,200. Right now, they would tell you you're normal if your testosterone is like 500. Right? And we know testosterone and dopamine are very interconnected in men. Right? So if your testosterone levels are low, your dopamine levels are not going to be cranking at the rate you want them to be cranking. Right? When your testosterone levels rise, dopamine increases as well. So one way to help our testosterone: eat good food, take our ass to the gym, and get to work. Right? Because again, these neurotransmitters are directly connected. Our physiology and our psychology is so interconnected that we cannot have good health all the way around unless we are treating our body correctly and treating our mind correctly. So, for that person that is a little overwhelmed and really can't get out of bed and is having a hard time getting started, just make yourself do it, man. Get up, show up. Like, man, I tell people that starting with exercise or starting with a good workout program is great because little wins increase dopamine, right? What better way than busting your ass for a week and getting on the scale and seeing a change? That's a small win. That's going to motivate us to get back to it and do it again next week. Even if we're sore, even if we're tired, those wins motivate us and get that dopamine cranking so we want to get out and do more and put more effort into it. So if you don't have your purpose or can't really find your purpose, start with working out. You'll find it, I promise. Because you have to be somewhat purpose-driven to change your body. And if your purpose can be just be healthy. And that's a purpose to get up for. Right?
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think that when you start to reframe it like that, it really makes a lot of difference. And that's why jiu-jitsu is so powerful, because I think that it helps you tap into that dopamine cycle because
so much.
And because you're learning
100%.
new stuff all the time. You're leveling up.
Listen,
like a video game.
Like in my class, I tell people all the time because I had one of my newer students come up to me last week, and he finally landed that move, and he's a white belt on the mat with white belts that have been there longer than him, blue belts, purple belts, brown belts, black belts. We're one of those gyms that everybody trains with everybody. I want that white belt to feel what a black belt feels like because he needs to see the difference in what he's aiming towards, right? These gyms that are like, how dare you ask a black belt to roll? That's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me. These guys get so much benefit out of rolling with our black belts, rolling with our brown belts, rolling with our purple belts. That's how they start to understand how the game's supposed to feel. But, this new white belt, not having much luck, of course, because when you're on the mat with a bunch of other killers and people that have been there longer, you're just usually the nail. But finally, just doing his work, drilling every day, he finally pulled off. And he didn't finish the submission, but he pulled off a move that got him to that space, and it was so close. And if you saw the excitement, that he was just able to make something work that we have drilled so many times, like that was that small win. Like if there was a meter for dopamine, I know that it just flew off the handle for him because he just got that win. He realizes now, holy shit, if I do this, if I train every day, then man, it's gonna come. It's gonna get better. I'm gonna move forward. And it's like I can tell his motivation has changed since then because those small wins make a difference, and they radiate into every aspect of our life, man.
Yeah, they do. And that's why people who are doing jiu-jitsu seem to experience so much confidence. I think that really what they're
For
talking
sure.
about is a dopamine rush. They're getting that, and the
100%.
testosterone as well, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit more about the link between dopamine and testosterone? Because that's super interesting to me. Could you share?
We just know as males, our entire system is built for us to procreate, for us to keep this species going, right? The reason we have testosterone and it's so crazy how the human body works. We're such an intelligent machine, man. So my testosterone is highest when I'm young, right? Of course, because I want to be driven by those urges that make me want to procreate. So this species keeps going, right? So what's insane though is say you get married, you have a beautiful wife, and that testosterone's off the chain, and now you get this wife pregnant, right? She is going to release a pheromone that is going to cause your testosterone to drop and make you want to nest make you want to be there for that family, right? Because everything that we do is built around the survival of our species, right? So, our testosterone goes through phases. Of course, it'll be a little lower when my wife's pregnant. Now, more dopamine wins, more get back into the gym, do all the things that I'm supposed to do, start being a man again. And now that testosterone starts to crank back up, right? But for the most part, most people get out of school, they start a family or whatever, if they're going to start a family. They don't work out again until they die. And they wonder why everything goes to shit, right? But your ability to your drive, your desire to get after it is going to be gone if your testosterone levels are gone. They're, like I said, they're directly connected. So, and
That's fascinating.
For sure. And our drives are a little different, Again, a lot of times, and this is why, I put a post up the other day, and I expected to catch a little flack, but most of my friends in mental health, whether it's on the counseling side, one of my very good friends is a longtime counselor, and she's so upset with what's going on just in the field right now. She's not very happy with that side of it, right? And then again, I'm more on the research side, so I look at the numbers, the data. I say, okay, this, and this. This shit ain't working. Why are we doing this? That's what I do, but it's hard to change practices that have been around for a long time, right? So I put up a post up the other day that just basically said, the more I learn about neuroscience, psychology, and physiology, human physiology, the more I'm starting to understand and think that everything we do in the treatment of psychological disorders is wrong. Everything, right? So somebody asked me, okay, then what would you change? Right? And I said, first of all, I would get a complete panel, like metabolic health panel on that client. So if they come in with the depression, I don't feel good, I don't feel like I used to, we're going to get rid of that pharmaceutical first idea and just throw pills at it. And we're going to try to figure out what's going on with your body that's causing this dysfunction, because something's happening, right? So I'm going to get a full metabolic panel, right? I guarantee we'll find in that metabolic panel, because 93% of Americans are not metabolically healthy. We might find some blood pressure issues. We might find some blood glucose abnormalities, because, damn it, most of America has some issues getting blood glucose out of their blood. So they have insulin resistance issues, right? So we're probably going to see that. We're probably going to see some waist circumference issues, some visceral adipose tissue, some stomach fat, right? We're going to see a lot of different things that are drivers for neurological dysfunction, right? So the first thing I would do is look at those numbers. We're going to get this full panel, and we're going to put you on a exercise program. It doesn't have to be crazy, right? It's going to be just a good exercise program that includes resistance training and cardiovascular training, right? Super easy, right? So that's going to be the first thing I do, because we know that exercise is the best medicine, bar none, for everything really, but definitely neurologically, man. When I exercise, like I said a while ago, and I'll expand on it a little more. When I exercise, I produce, I stimulate serotonin, I stimulate dopamine, I stimulate norepinephrine, I stimulate acetylcholine, right? On top of that, my body produces what's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is it forces neurogenesis, or new neuronal growth, in the hippocampus of your brain, the hippocampal region of your brain. The hippocampus is your center for memory and learning. So we know a lot of our understanding and the way we process our environment around us deals with our ability to just compute shit, right? To remember, to break down problems. So increasing that neuronal growth and making our hippocampus bigger and stronger and more robust, it makes a difference. It'll make a difference in depression, just how we feel overall, right? So we get so much from exercise that pills just don't give us. Pills are going to give us a lot of different side effects, and in the Duke University study, I believe I sent you that study, exercise like outperformed SSRIs. I believe they used Zoloft in the Duke University study, but it outperformed Zoloft, and it outperformed a mixture of SSRIs and exercise. Because what they found is these SSRIs take over the neurotransmitter, and you don't get any benefit from exercise neurologically once you're on an SSRI. So exercise is always going to be your best bet before I get somebody dependent on a pill, right? So it's just me. Just me. I think that there's so much more we could be doing if we would just level with our patients and clients and let them know, hey, this is why you feel this way. And you got to get your body in order if you want your mind in order.
Yeah. So let's use me as a case study here. So, for example, I've got some high blood pressure going on. And even though I exercise, even though I do jiu-jitsu 5 days a week, and so for me, it's got to be something else. And I spoke with the doctor, and right away they were like, oh, does your dad have blood pressure issues? Yes. And they're like, oh, it's genetic. You're just going to deal with it. And they're recommending medicine. Wrong. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to take medicine. So what would you say to someone like me?
Okay, well, I mean,
this whole thing of like, oh, it's genetic. You can't do anything.
I disagree. I mean, there may be a small, like very, very small percentage of people that just have a genetic abnormality that causes this, but it's doubtful, right? I would say probably if you change your nutrition a bit, which I've helped hundreds of people with blood pressure to stabilize their blood pressure. There are a few supplements you can take to increase blood flow, but the biggest killer of humans is cardiovascular disease. That cardiovascular disease are usually driven by atherosclerosis, which is the hardening or plaque of like the arteries, right? This shouldn't kill anybody. The reason why is we have so many ways of keeping that from happening. From basic over-the-counter supplements like berberine and niacin that increase blood flow. They reverse the hardening and the arterial plaque buildup, right? To exercise and nutrition. Like we know what causes these plaques and we know how to defeat them, yet it's still killing more people worldwide than anything else. It's crazy. And again, it's all attached to metabolic syndrome. So we'll talk a little more about, I work with the integrative healthcare group. In our group, our goal is always to give you the lifestyle intervention first before we throw medicine at you. Now, if everything else fails, if you're doing everything right and something like is just not budging, then as long as we're not in a dangerous space, like you're going to have a stroke tomorrow because your blood pressure is so high, then we'll maybe start looking at pharmaceuticals later. But we want to make sure you're doing everything that you can to be in the best health possible before we start throwing pharmaceuticals at you that we know are going to cause side effects, right? So yeah, I can give you a couple of tips that we give our clients, and I guarantee we can get that in order. Like give me an idea what your blood pressure is.
It was like it fluctuates anywhere from like 135 up to like 145 to 150.
Okay, so first things first, is this always when you're at the doctor's office when it's high?
No.
Okay. Do you have a cuff that you can take it yourself?
Yeah, I take it. I take it pretty often.
All right, so do this. First thing when you wake up in the morning, take it. I want you to take 3 readings. I want you to sit down with your back straight and your feet on the floor. I want you comfortable. I want you to sit for 5 minutes before you take that reading. Meaning you sit, don't move, don't do anything, breathe, work on your breathing for 5 minutes before you take that reading. And then do 3 readings with your blood pressure cuff. Whatever your average is after 3 is what your blood pressure probably is, right? Okay. Do that in the morning and do that at night before you go to bed. Midday, like if we just got a good workout in and I drank a big cup of coffee and I'm worried about whatever the reading is going to say, that first reading is going to be shit. Okay, so nobody does blood, even doctors' offices, they don't do blood pressure tests, right? So Like I said, sit down for 5 minutes, relax, breathe, make sure you're in your zone. You've lowered your stress levels. You didn't just run up a flight of stairs. Make sure you didn't drink a bunch of coffee before you took it, right? And take it in the morning first thing. Our blood pressure is going to elevate and decline throughout the day, right? Now, talking about the genetic predisposition. Yes, so we can have epigenetic predispositions that do make us more inclined to these things, but they can only really happen if we give them the environment to thrive. Meaning epigenetics are malleable, right? So I like to think of it like genetics are written in a permanent marker. Epigenetics are written in a pencil, you can erase them, right? These are things that are going to change constantly throughout our life depending on how we interact with the environment. So if my dad had high blood pressure, which he did, my dad had a stroke by the time he was 50 and had high blood pressure throughout his 40s, which made me, because I've been taking care of him and got him back on his feet after he had his stroke, but made me really cognizant of what predispositions I could have. So I've been an obsessive compulsive about my heart, about my cardiovascular health. I make sure that my VO2 max is elite for my age group, first of all. If your VO2 max is elite for your age group, you have almost zero cardiovascular risk. That just tells you how important of a measurement that is. So that's one. Two, I take supplements that are going to make sure I increase blood flow, right? L-arginine, L-citrulline are two great supplements. I take berberine and niacin every single day. Niacin will make you feel like you're a meth head that just took angel dust. It's going to give you that flush, but you want that flush. I deal with it every morning. People laugh at me because I turn pink, but it's fine because I'm trying to get ahead of any issues that I may have, right? On top of that, like I said, I just take care of my body. I eat good foods, right? My blood pressure when I just took it as it's the best it's ever been. I think it was 99/63. And and my resting heart rate is about 43 beats per minute. Now, again, I'm obsessed. Yours don't need to be that way. You know what I'm saying? But I understand the science of what I'm doing. And so I feel like if I don't do it for myself, then why would my clients do it, right? So I can give you a couple little tips that I guarantee will get it in order, but I don't buy the idea that everything's genetic. Take this pill. There's nothing you can do. It's a lie.
Yeah, it seems like it's just made up by the pharmaceutical industry.
No, understand and look, doctors have. I'm in a partnership with a doctor, and I understand that pharmaceuticals have their place, but they shouldn't always be the first option. You know, um, rarely should they be the first option.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, man, because this is going to be an interesting segue. So I was doing a little bit of googling, and I was
Mhm.
finding that using cannabis might be linked to high blood pressure. And I'm a cannabis user, and I know that there's a lot of men out there listening to this show who are cannabis users, and I know that you've talked about that in the past, how like it
Yeah,
might not be the healthiest thing. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
yeah.
Cannabis
So listen,
specifically.
I'm not against cannabis. I'm against daily long term use. I think if you took an edible once a week on the weekends, you'll be fine. You're not gonna have any issues. There'll be no negative health benefits. Your testosterone will be fine. But if I get up every day and wake in bed, first of all, anything I burn and put in my lungs, it's not good for me. No matter if it's cigarettes, vape, or cannabis, not great. So, argument anybody that smokes, I know it hits different, but start eating edibles. It's way better for you. Way better for you, right? And there are some positive benefits of cannabis. Cannabis does help with inflammation and pain, So, especially for us athletes, I'll take a Delta 8 or something like that on the weekends if I'm like hurting. Keep me relaxed. I'm good. I don't have anything else to do for the day. And it does aid in recovery. But I'm not a fan, like, especially smoking or using it every day. I don't think it's the best for you, right? I would have to see the papers because I've not dug deep into that research. um, on why they would say it was linked to high blood pressure, but there could be a lot of moving parts. It does stimulate appetite, which stimulates you to eat, and most of the time potheads are eating Fruity Pebbles and watching Flintstones. So just saying. Now, a lot of
Yeah.
cannabis users don't eat the best, right? So we want to make sure that if it's affecting us that way and making it hard for us to stay on a good nutritional program and things like that, either we need to reel ourselves in and make ourselves eat better, or maybe smoke a little bit less or use a little bit less cannabis. Again, not against it. I just think the way we use it should be a little more intelligent with the way we use it.
Yeah, what you said makes the most sense to me, and that's actually something they talked about in the study that I read, was that there's not really a good way to tell because it could be food. And
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes so much sense. I mean, honestly,
Yeah, for sure. And listen, I know it makes everything taste better, for sure. And just makes you, enjoy your food, the whole process. But at the same time, man, like if something is knocking you off of, which you should have a personal goal to be as healthy as you can. We all want to live a long, healthy life. For me, I have a son, and I understand the longer I live, the more I can build to kind of create that generational wealth and make sure he's in the best place possible to move forward and attack this crazy world we're living in, right? So for me, I want to live I want to be here to guide him all the way through. He has grandkids, what I'm saying, as long as I can. Because I think it's our job, and we're losing because, especially African Americans, man, we die at like 58. You know what I'm saying? We have a very low mortality, or high mortality rate, and a very low life expectancy. So we're losing a lot of those elders, the village elders, that can kind of keep us on track. And I think that's a problem, and we're seeing that in society these days, man.
I agree. What do you think we can do about that?
And this may start a fight right now because, one of my best friends, and we keep each other on our toes. We constantly debate about, and listen, we'll yell at each other, but I'll call him and tell him I love him the next day. But we debate about some of these things, man. My growth as a human has helped me kind of understand that. So, just give an example. We've had a discussion lately on what is the biggest threat facing the African American community, and people are like police shootings, and I'm like, yeah, no, 250 black people died from police last year. You know what I'm saying? Like 250. 300,000 people died from obesity-related diseases last year, and we are the unhealthiest demographic in America. Okay, so I would say, if anything, the number one thing facing Black Americans right now is our health. Like, the pandemic whooped our ass because we are not metabolically healthy, right? We have one of the highest rates for any demographic of cardiovascular disease, cancer, like all of the things that are killing Americans. We get it the most because all of these things are directly connected to our metabolic health. So if we want to talk about problems facing humanity, it's that we're treating our bodies like we're only going to live for 30 years. You can't build this thing in 30 years. Hell, I didn't even know who I was when I was 30. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we really want to build something and make some significant changes, we need to remain healthy long enough to do that. Because if we're in our late 30s or 40s, worried about our health and running up doctor bills because we're unhealthy, what else? What the hell can we, like, how can we go out and help somebody else? So, in my opinion, by far, the number one thing facing the Black community, and really facing Americans in general, is our health. Our health is a mess, and it's affecting our mental health, and it affects everything.
Man, let's say that there's someone listening to this and they're picking up what you're putting down, and they're like, man, I get it. Need to focus on my health. Need to start lifting. Need to start eating better. Like, what sort of a program would you put them on? Let's say they got 3 days a week that they're going to work out.
Okay. 3 days a week is plenty. All right. Now, everybody's got more than 3 days a week. and I'll just give little things that we can add to it. And I'm going to start with the 5 things that I think are most important when it comes to physiological, psychological, neurological health, right? And I'm gonna do them in order of importance, right? So number 1, exercise, bar none, right? We need to be exercising. It needs to be a consistent programmed part of our life, right? We need to find a way to exercise damn near every day. And that doesn't mean I have to go to the gym every day, but I need to find a way to move every day, right? That exercise has got to consist of resistance training and cardiovascular training. And I'm going to break that down a little bit more for everyone. It's super easy, right? So we talk about the 2 leading factors in longevity. The 2 leading factors are strength and VO2 max, right? If I want to live a long, healthy life, which I'm not talking about living till 80, but spending the last 20 years in a bed, right? I'm talking about living till 90 or 100, and then you just drop dead one day when you're climbing a mountain. That's how I want to go, right? I don't want to suffer for my last 20 years. Like, I'm trying to be like just a whole animal and just fall over dead one day. That's my dream life, and that's what I'm working towards, right? So strength and cardiovascular health, so VO2 max. With strength training, we should focus on push, pull, hip hinge, and squat thrust. If we cover those things 2 days a week, if you do a full body 2 days a week, pushing away from our body, pulling to our body, hip hinge, meaning like deadlift, something that causes that hip hinge movement, and then squat thrust, squats, anything that pushes something away from our body with our legs. If I focus on those movements, then I'm going to cover pretty much all the bases I need to not have muscle loss and bone loss as I get older, right? Okay, so cardiovascular training, I should be doing predominantly zone 2 work, meaning like moderate heart rate work, right? So maybe 4 days a week, do some zone 2, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, if you can do it, right? That means wake your ass up in the morning and go just take a light jog around your neighborhood. Depending on your shape, if you're in bad shape, zone 2 doesn't take much at all, right? But if you're in great shape, it might be like a light jog, or 20 minutes on the exercise bike, or a good slow-paced rowing session. Any of those things will work, right? Just 20, 30 minutes if I can get it done, right? Everybody's got 20, 30 minutes a day. Watch one less Netflix episode. You can do it, I promise, right? And then you need 1 day a week when you push yourself to the limit, right? So I need to have that HIIT style training that gets me in that max heart rate zone, meaning I feel like my heart's going to jump out of my chest. And so maybe for 1 minute I'm going as hard as I can, 2 minutes I'm going as hard as I can, 4 minutes if I'm in peak shape, and then I rest for the amount of time that I sprinted, right? Do that one day a week, and then do your zone 2 every other day, right? 2 days a week we're doing some strength training. Cardiovascular training is going to take a little more time, right? All right, so number 1 was exercise. Number 2, nutrition, right? I fight a lot about what's more important, nutrition or sleep. I think sleep, honestly, could be number 1 because it's the only one that's going to kill you quickly if you don't do it. But we'll come back to that because everybody sleeps, just most people don't sleep well. All right? So number 2, we'll say nutrition. Nutrition, if I live by these 3 ideas, my life will be fine, right? Prioritize protein. So make protein a priority. And that is animal protein. Sorry, vegans. Your body just is not absorbing plant-based protein the way it's going to absorb animal-based protein. It's not as bioavailable. It just isn't. I don't care what you're doing. And then the amino acid breakdown is not the same, right? So your body's just not getting what it needs from plant-based. We're omnivores. We should eat plants, but we need meat, right? So prioritize protein. 2, don't be afraid to eat fats. Fats are not, every study now showing that fats are not a causative issue in metabolic dysfunction. We need fats. Matter of fact, protein is synthesized better when we eat it with a fat. That's why red meat is one of the best things you can put in your body because it is a fatty meat, right? Chicken doesn't absorb as well. It would be better to eat chicken. If you're going to eat chicken, eat it with a fat, right? All right, so prioritize protein. don't be afraid of fats. And 3, just limit and control your carbohydrate intake. Your carbohydrate intake, if you're an elite athlete, should be measured for the output you're going to have for the day. If you're obese, then you probably shouldn't have any carbs because you've got a whole bunch of stored glucose all over your body, right? So you should probably just cut out the middleman. So nutrition, prioritize protein, don't be scared of fats, eat fats, and limit and control your carbohydrates, all right? Number 3, sleep, which I said that sleep could definitely be number 1. And this, honestly, of all the things that I do, because like I said, I'm obsessed, I try to get 7 hours a night of sleep sometimes with work and with research. I may drop the ball on that one. And then every once in a while, I think being a social person is super important. That's going to come down the line. So sometimes I'll go out with my friends and I'll hang out. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I don't get the best sleep ever, but it's a balancing act, right? I try to get 7 hours a night, and I try to stay on as consistent of a schedule as I can. All right, it's not my best thing that I'm working with, but I'm doing my best. Sleep is really important. That's when we recover. That's when we neurologically recover. That's when our body is like, okay, you're giving me a break. I'm gonna fix some of the shit that's going on, right? So we need sleep. All right. So number 4 and 5, like if you do the first 3, you're gonna be great, right? 4 and 5, it's always a good idea too. So stress reduction strategies for number 4, and like mindfulness. So like doing things to actually sit down and reduce stress. Yoga is a great way to reduce stress. So, I mean, I do yoga a couple times a week right now with my girl Lydia. Giving you a shout out, Lydia. You're amazing. She does, not only does she do some amazing yoga stuff, she does myofascial release. And every injury I get training with these young guys, she's able to work it out for me. So big shout out to Lydia. But yoga is a great stress reduction strategy. It's great for everybody. So if you have access to yoga, even if it's online, do it, man. It's great. You don't even have to follow the religious side of it, which I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. But just sitting and breathing and meditating and focusing on your body, it's amazing. So do it. And the last thing is strong social connections, right? We can do all that, but if I lock myself in my room all day, I'm not going to be neurologically or psychologically healthy. I need to have good, strong social connections. I need to go out. I need to meet people. I need to not be afraid to talk to others and just build some bridges, man. It'll make you live longer. We have a new recent research that shows married couples outlive, like both males and females, males especially. We do well. We get the better end of the stick when it comes to marriage. But we live much longer if we're married, and we die earlier if we're not married. Having somebody to talk to every day as we age is very important. So, again, those 5 things, I would say focus on those. The top 3, 100%, exercise, nutrition, and sleep. Got to get those in order if you want to be healthy.
Man, you just broke it down, man. I feel like if someone follows that to the T, they're going to be pretty freaking healthy.
Man, and it's not that difficult, man. It's not that, like, it's really, I know people, like, listen, I meet people every day that don't know what a carb is. It's crazy to me that in this time of Google, you have no idea what a carb is and what a carb isn't. And that just kind of lets me know how little you care about your body if you don't know what a carb is and what a carb isn't. So we need to take more time to learn about what we're putting in our body. If everything you eat is from the middle of the grocery store, meaning it comes in a bag or a box or a piece of plastic, you're probably not healthy. Like, we want good vegetables, good clean meats. Like, I'm telling you, man, if you eat red meat every day, you're going to be as healthy as you can be, as long as it's good cuts. I like to do grass-fed meat, but listen, if you throw in a little bit of processed, like some bacon or some turkey bacon or something every once in a while, you're not going to die. I promise. You're not. It's going to be better than eating a bunch of sugar and processed shit all the time, right? So, good protein, good fats, low carbohydrate. Like, carbohydrate for what you need, right? Not for more than you need, right? And then get to bed, man. Quit staying up on the screen all day. Put your screen down. Take your ass to bed.
Love it, man. And get to jiu-jitsu as often as you can, because like you said, it checks a lot of the boxes.
Man, listen, so that could be part of your exercise, right? So I mean, where I wear my
I'm
oh,
here.
where'd you go? But I wear my Apple Watch for everything I do, man. I've got one of the newer ones. I follow all of my metrics, and man, the calorie I get the calorie burn that I get during jiu-jitsu is insane. Man, my heart rate jumps up to like 170, 180 during jiu-jitsu. I'm a 45-year-old man. I ain't supposed to have a heart rate that high. You know what I'm saying? But because I've conditioned myself, I can still get a pretty high heart rate. And I'm not getting in the 200s and 220s like some of these 16 and 18-year-olds, but yeah, I can still push my heart rate a little bit. Um, but man, you are getting an amazing calorie burn. You're getting an amazing workout. You're working on a little bit of that slow twitch. You're exploding. A little bit of everything. You're getting resistance because you're pushing, pulling, using your legs, using your arms. There's a lot of things you're covering in jiu-jitsu a few days a week. You know. Now, I don't think that should take the place of strength training. I think you should definitely strength train, but it could definitely count as some cardiovascular sessions as well. You know.
Yeah, I found jujitsu guys like me. We need to be having almost more like a physical therapy routine with the weights. Like
Right.
whenever I lift weights, it feels like I'm doing physical therapy to keep me on the mat.
So I lift, you know, I lift a lot more sensibly these days. It's not about which, I'm really close to potentially fighting in October just to do that walk one more time, just because I'm in phenomenal shape right now. And as long as I can stay injury free, I don't see why not. I'll go out there and enjoy that show one more time. But you know, right now, most of my workout is based on health and wellness and longevity, and less about just pushing up the most weight I can or trying to murder my body to be the best athlete. And what I found is me switching up to a much more health and wellness approach has increased my athletic ability so much, man. I'm jumping higher, running faster. I'm doing so much right now that I wish I would have been doing when I was younger. Because I actually take time to worry about my flexibility a little bit and to focus on little injuries that I have, if I have them, and work those things out. And then, I mean, I'm lifting with intent now, you know. I don't miss a day. And so, I feel absolutely amazing. I'm 45 years old, just turned 45. And when I say I'm in the absolute best physical shape I've ever been in. I'm in better shape now at 45 than I was when I was probably 25. And I've got pictures to prove it because I've taken a lot of selfies in my life.
I love that, man. That's amazing. So, man, I know that we got to start wrapping this up, but I think that we got time for one more question. Let's say that there's someone listening to this and they're just feeling like they tried all this stuff. Maybe they've been lifting, maybe they've been trying to eat well, they've been doing it for a while, and they're not seeing a lot of progress. Like, what would you say to that person? Do they just need to keep going? Like, tweak a little bit? What do you think?
So here's the thing: is a lot of people feel that way after being in the gym for a week. Like, I've been it's not working, you know. And I'm about to get rude right now. I'm about to get on my CG Fletcher a little bit, but motherfucker, it took you years to get fat. You are not going to walk in the gym and after a week be your best self again. You know, the only way that we find true health and wellness is through discipline and consistency. If I do those things, you're going to get I'm going to get in amazing shape. If I show up every day and I do the work, it's going to work. I promise. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, but you're going to look at yourself in a year and you're going to be a different person than you were when you started if you stick with it. So we go back to motivation and discipline. When I first make the goal, I'm going to get in great shape this year. My New Year's resolution is going to be amazing. I'm motivated. I'm motivated that first week, maybe the first 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I'm not as motivated. My body hurts. I haven't been working out all year. I feel like shit now. Maybe I even got sick because my immune system dropped because I'm not used to this workload, right? I'm going to quit. This is too much. Then you're never going to see the results that you could have seen if you just stuck with the program. I don't believe in diets. I don't believe in these quick workout programs to get back in shape. Health and wellness is a lifetime commitment. It is something you got to do forever. You don't work out now to get where you want and stop because you're going to get fat again. That's what it is, right? Just be consistent. Make it a consistent part of your life. Make it like brushing your teeth in the morning. You get up every day, you do the work. Right? It's that easy. And you can't, like, everybody I know that says, workout didn't work for me, I tried. First of all, you gave it a week or two. And of course it didn't work because you're probably going to Planet Fitness and eating pizza on the leg extension machine, right? That's not it, right? You need to either, if you can't afford, listen, everybody has Google, right? There are so many different workout plans online. You could, for free, I can Google, hey, easy workout plan 3 days a week. And I promise you, something's going to come up that you can follow, right? Sorry, my Google speaker's talking to me, all right? So, she's giving me a workout program. You see how easy that was? I literally was talking to you, and I get a workout program from my Google speaker. That's how easy it is, people. No, you have no excuse. You have no excuse at all.
You got ChatGPT give you a workout program.
Yeah, right? Man, ChatGPT is, first of all, I've been playing with this thing every day. I talk shit to it just to practice, arguing with people because you know who I am as a person. That's what I do. It is super biased, man. Like ridiculously biased. And you got to understand that it has programmer bias, and then it gives it specific information to look at that backs that bias. So, I mean, I don't think it's taking over anything anytime soon. And if we let it, I mean, we're doomed because it's very biased. But with that being said, man, like anybody can do it, but you can't do it unless you have discipline, consistency, and resiliency, man. There can be, like I said, you might hurt yourself. You might get sick. Be resilient.
That's the whole game. With jiu-jitsu, with life, with business, with everything, man.
Anything you do. Anything you do.
Bro. Muhsin, this has been amazing, as always, bro. Can you tell us where can people learn more about what you're doing?
So, guys, my Twitter was recently hacked, and I lost it. I cannot get it back. I did everything I could. I talked to, man, if I knew Elon personally, maybe he could hook me up. But so I just had to start a new Twitter account, and I'm at Champion Muhsin, Champion, Muhsin. Same thing on Instagram, Champion Muhsin. Then you can look me up on Facebook at Muhsin Corbbrey. That's Muhsin, last name Corbrey. If you want to train with me, you can go to my website, MMATrainingSavannah.com. It has most of my personal stuff that I do one-on-one for mixed martial arts, but we're adding our complete consulting business as well for my health and wellness. But you can contact me on any of those platforms if you're interested in working with me, man. What I do for a living is I help people be their best selves, whether it's physiologically or psychologically. We're going to give you a plan that's going to help you be the best version of yourself. And I'm going to talk shit to you. I'm going to make sure you do your job, right? That's what I'm here for. But we're going to give you a good baseline to work from so you can be the best version of yourself. And that's what I do. And I enjoy what I do, man. I've been very blessed to help now 2 people. One person was pre-diabetic and the other person was diabetic. They've come off all medication, helped tons of blood pressure issues, helped a lot of people who are obese and thought this was just genetic and there's nothing I can do, finally look the way they want to look and feel the way they want to feel. And for me, there's nothing more rewarding in the world than helping somebody get control of their health because it's the only thing we got.
Well, I'm going to implement the little tips you gave me earlier, and I'm going to tell you how my blood pressure works.
For sure. We'll talk a little more offline. I'll give you a couple of things that you can play with to work on it.
Okay. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate
All right,
you.
brother.
As always, we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
For
Get you
sure.
back.
For sure.
And when are you actually wrapping up your doctoral work? Do you have a date?
So right now, I mean, there's real no hard timeline on it. I'm guessing I've got maybe a year left, but it really just depends on how quick I do the work and how each stage of it gets approved. Because I mean, you work in sections. I'll turn some in. The faculty head will be like, "Nah, that sucks. Work again. It's too broad. Narrow it down a little more." And so it's just an ongoing process. But in the what's great about it is while I'm doing this, I've already submitted two different research projects for publishing that were involved in my dissertation process. So I'm doing so much research on specific things that are going to come together to make the entire project. That I've already got some really good research that I've submitted. So hopefully soon, once it gets reviewed and gets approved and ends up in a journal, I'll share it with you and you can share it with your buddies.
Yeah, man. And we'll have to get you back on the show to talk about it.
For sure, for sure.
Well, thank you, brother. This has been a lot of fun, as always.
Always fun, man. Always fun.
Always, man.